Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to My Time, My Life with Trinette Faint. On this season of my podcast, I'll be talking to a variety of people, from creative entrepreneurs to business owners to writers to entertainers and others, about being bold and courageous, overcoming obstacles, and taking risks, all in the name of chasing dreams and building a career. I hope their stories will inspire you on your own journey. Thanks for listening. My guest today is Steve Shenbaum, a classically trained actor and comedian and founder and president of Game On Nations, a communications, leadership, and team building firm based in Bradenton, Florida. For over 27 years, Steve and his team have worked with some of the country's most recognizable athletes, college and professional sports teams, including NASCAR, the LA Lakers, the New York Yankees, and more, with Fortune 500 companies, government, military leaders, and he's an industry expert in presentation, public speaking, team building, and communications training. In his past career as an actor, Steve was featured in American Pie 2, EDTV, Space Jam, The Third Wheel with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, Will and Grace, Married with Children, Beverly Hills 90210, and more than 100 national commercials. Steve graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in performance studies and also trained at the British American Drama Academy in Oxford, England. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Trinette, most importantly, father and husband, and also you've known me for over 25 years.
I know. It's pretty crazy. Where has the time gone?
It's amazing, actually. I love it. I love that. I told my girls as I was driving them to school this morning, they're 12 and 9. They're like, tell me about Miss Trinette. And I said, Trinette has known Daddy since he was Shemmy 25 years ago. And they really got a kick out of that and had tons of questions. But then I had to drop them off at school, and here we are. So good to see you, my friend.
You too. Thanks. Too. I hope that it's far less than 25 years we can see each other in person again.
Come on, for sure.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Good promise.
All right, so let's dive in here. Let's talk about Game On Nation, your company. Where did this idea come from, and when did you have it?
I originally had it, and I'll try to go quick with this sort of origin story. When I was like 14, my mom's an abstract artist. She's still with us. She's 92 years old. She's in Los Angeles. And I said to her when I was 14, I said, I want to start a company one day that honors the arts and sports. So I was really into dual worlds, because I played sports at my prep school and I was also in the theater, and I found those two worlds had more in common than people thought. So that was the initial plan and the idea, it didn't come to fruition. This idea was called double play. I was really into the double entendre, double play. But that really was the beginning. And then, when you and I knew each other in Los Angeles was when part of it was out of necessity, Trinette. It was, I was doing improv, and I really wanted to do more than just be an actor, and I want to have more control of my career path. So part of it was just that dynamic. And so I started teaching my friends and athletes how to interview on their shows. A couple of my friends were being interviewed on the Today Show or some of those interviews. And so I started helping them, and that's how I created the curriculum for Game On. So 1997.
Wow. I love that you stuck with it and have created this amazing company. And,
Thank you.
And so unique. That's amazing. How did your training as an actor influence your decision to create your company, if it did at all?
It did. When I studied Northwestern, one of the things that's on that track, if you go this route, is improv. You can kind of take the drama track, which I enjoyed that, but it wasn't totally my vibe. And then there was the musical theater track, which was there was so much talent at Northwestern with musical theater, but I kind of took this improvisation track at Northwestern, and that really opened my eyes up to the power of comedy, the power of interactivity. But whenever I was in improv, I wasn't the best improver in the classes, but I always looked at it as a way to use as a teaching technique. That was my big focus when I was teaching improv and learning improv. So that's kind of what opened it up. Was my theater experience at Northwestern involved improvisation, and that's what we use as part of our driving force for our curriculum.
Yeah, and I guess when you're up there running, your team building workshops and helping people, it's all about like, trust and vulnerability. And
Yeah,
those are things I imagine that you would have learned at Northwestern in your improv. So I can see how that correlates.
that's exactly. I mean, you have a background in that as an actress and as a
Hmm.
model, and this idea of being able to listen. A lot of techniques in improvisation that, if you avoid trying to be funny, are really important for human
Hmm.
behavior. Like you should be compassionate in an improv scene. Like it helps build the scene. Like you should try to take care of your fellow like scene member. I'm saying this really slowly
Yeah.
because I'm trying to like be really obvious to your listeners. Like these things are not just trying to be the funniest cat in the room. Like that's not my jam. It's like improv is actually a really beautiful art form if you
Mm.
focus on like laughing with and
Yeah.
inclusion. Like all these hot
Right.
words that are out there, like they're in the improv. Like if you want to have a good scene, don't shame someone. Don't make them feel like a clown, and give them space and let them talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Listening is so important and in so many things that we do, for sure. What were some of the challenges that you faced when you set up Game On?
And I'll try to address this just from like almost a business perspective, because I know a
Mhm.
lot of your listeners may have a desire to like be an entrepreneur. OT, are you still there?
I am here. I am here.
Oh, I lost your audio. I lost your video, but
Ah,
I have you on audio.
I'm here.
That's okay. If you can hear me, you can
I
hear
can
me?
hear. Yes,
Perfect.
I
Let's
can hear
keep
you.
rolling then.
Yep.
Well, I'll use that. That's improvisation, being spontaneous. One of the challenges was,
Live theater.
uh, there you go. I think one of the challenges when I started out was the obvious, like just where's the income going to come from? When do you want to
Hmm.
move off of your current career as an actor, and can you support yourself? But those are kind of more logistics. I think one of the challenges just was that, there's not a lot of people around you when you start a business to like, um, so you question yourself a little bit. You say,
Yeah.
am I really able to do this? Like, I got to establish myself as a subject matter expert in this field, but do I have the authority
Mm.
to to speak? You know, I always talk about earning the right to teach, and so when you're young, it's a little harder. That's it. Maybe that's it. I was 27 years old, and I'm 53 now. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I've been there. I've made mistakes, but when you're starting out at like 25, you're like, is anyone going to listen to what I have to say? Because
Right.
I'm still
Right.
growing. Yeah, that's it.
And
That was one of the challenges.
did you have any mentors in this space when you first
That's a
started?
great question. And I think that actually goes to, it's so important too. Um, I did. I had a couple agents, one being Bill Duffy, who's a
Hmm.
sports agent, and he was from Southern Cal, a little older than me. And yeah, it was important to have like an accountability coach and a
Mm.
mentor and sort of a what I'd call a board of directors, if you will, early on. That's actually, I would say, a great answer to when you're starting out. Like
Hmm.
bring some folks around you that can give you a different perspective, maybe have a few years on you. Yeah, Bill Duffy
Yeah.
was very helpful, and also opened up some of my first clients because he represented athletes and he trusted me. But yeah, Bill was very helpful.
Mm, nice. Nice. And a communications firm is a huge departure from acting. Once you set it up, did you ever doubt your decision? I mean, you kind of answered that a little bit before. Um, how did you overcome self-doubt to keep
Yeah,
going?
this is important, and this has not been an easy question for me to answer. I think one of my I'm not into like superpowers because I think that makes it seem so lofty and unattainable. But like the small thing that differentiates some from others, I did not ever make what I do my identity.
Mm,
That's tricky. Like when I was an
mm-hmm.
actor, I never was like, this is who I am as a person. Because then when I got rejected, it would really be crushing. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I worked through was I made a vow that even if I start Game On and it's my company, that I would not make it my identity. It's not who I am, which is really tricky because you also want to be
Mm-hmm.
totally driven. And I know you are.
Right.
Like
Right.
you're a
Yep.
driven person, like you're a goer. But it's this fine tension that I don't fully have the answer to. But how do you get after something with all of your being and at the same time go, this is not who I am? It's like so hard. But that was one of the
Yeah.
ways that I avoided that that sort of crushing defeat was I was able to separate that.
Yeah. That is a great answer. And it just as a, as a talent, as a performer, you really do have to parse that out and separate it because it can just destroy your self-confidence and your
Yeah,
self-worth if you've identified too much as that, if you make that your whole reason for being.
yeah. And maybe there's ways we can share some just techniques. Like I would always find things that I love to do that have nothing to do with being an actor.
Yeah.
And even with Game On, things that I could do because and I know it is hard when people like don't take it personally. Like, come on, how do I not?
Right.
Right? Don't take it personally, Trinette. Well, it was you in the room. Like it was me. I was one you said no to. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a hologram.
Yeah.
I'm not a hologram.
Yeah.
So I try to I even came up with a concept called coins in Game On, which are things that you value that really bring you light that have nothing to do with what you do for a living. It could be your family, it could be places that are significant to you, your pets, people that have impacted you. And I've always tried to use my coins as sort of a way to bring me value and currency that goes beyond what I was actor, what I am now Game On. And so I try to use those coins as sort of armor. So when things go south, I'm not like, oh, that was a knock on me. No, that's how business goes.
I'm going to remember that.
Well, you have coins. I mean, we talked about it. You have your dog, right?
Yeah, Avery.
And you have Boston and you have travel. I mean, I've got to share with your listeners that you're in my algorithm, Trinette, even though we haven't seen each other in 25 years. Like I've been able to keep up with you on social and, traveling, Paris, modeling, Avery, community, Boston, like those are things that make you smile. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. That's true.
So anyway, that's cool.
All right, I got my own coins then. Okay, love that.
Come on.
How is Game On Nation different from other communications firms?
I would have answered this differently 10 years ago. Cool. 10 years ago, I would have tried to sound like we're wildly different. And I've gotten a little more humble in my old age. We're not wildly different. We have some slight differences. And as I answer this question, I hope that folks that are running their businesses or trying to find their dreams, they don't think they have to be wildly different, just slightly different. Because if you try to be wildly different, I think it puts so much pressure. One of the things that makes us slightly different, but there's other firms out there that do this too, but slightly different. We do use a lot of improvisation as a way as a teaching tool that we've talked on earlier. So that kind of is a differentiator. So our level of engagement and interactivity when we teach communication, teamwork, you're going to be on your feet. I think another thing that that is hard to market that makes us slightly different is we lean into this challenging component. Like it's hard to pitch, but it's not all let's have fun. It's also let's challenge ourselves, which I've had a tricky time marketing because, no company is going to be like, let's get out of our comfort zone, but we need to. So that's, I think, another slight differentiator is we'll stretch and we'll say, look, let's do this like a workout. We're not going to get hurt, but let's work on conversation skills and empathy and listening. And let's do some hard things together in a safe environment. So I'd say those are the two, the interactivity and the fact that we do, stretch people and we want to get people out of their comfort zone a little bit because the reality is in business, you are out of your comfort zone a lot. If you're public speaking or presenting or having a difficult conversation with your boss or starting a company. So those would be the two.
Totally true. Which has been most rewarding for you, Game On Nation or the world of entertainment?
Ooh.
But at different, I guess maybe that's a tough question because, you were doing things at different times of your life. You were a bit of a different person in entertainment than you are now, but.
Yeah, but I still think I could probably answer that. They're all fulfilling. I'd say that here's what I'll say. The Game On Nation has been more fulfilling, Trinette, because it involves more people.
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you're an actor, it's a solo show. You're like, I mean, yeah, you have your agents and your managers and you're on a cast, but like you're your own business.
Yeah.
And so as I go, the company goes because it's Steve Shenbaum, and I don't mean to refer to myself in the third person in like a narcissistic way, but Game On's more fulfilling because I realize that one of the things I really love to do is create other opportunities for people. Like I'm really into that. And when you're an actor, it's all about you.
Yeah.
And that's it actually can get draining. I don't think we're wired as human beings, Trinette, to be solo. You know, like
Yeah.
to be isolated. I mean, I love being alone. I know you do. It's great. But like, yeah, Game On is fulfilling to me because I have a group of people I'm working with and I love watching them succeed and grow. Sometimes they stay with Game On, sometimes they move on and create their own agencies. And I find that really, really fulfilling. That to me is like legacy level stuff.
Yeah.
So that's my answer.
Love it. Love it. Do you ever miss being an actor?
Ooh, I get that question a lot. I'm always like, am I being honest? I don't because I do get that fulfillment of performance by presenting on stage. Like I'm in front of audiences all the time, and it's a variety of audiences. It could be like 16-year-old junior soccer players. It could be like, you know, corporate executives in a financial institution or military personnel. No, I don't miss it. I do every now and then think, I wonder if this whole journey could be a show, like could be a sitcom, kind of like in here, maybe you run with it, kind of like a Ted Lasso meets like Jerry Maguire meets like King's Speech, because I do a lot of
See
public.
that.
Yeah. So anyway, but here's the challenge. I would want such control of the message so it doesn't go from like my heart to like just a whacked, dirty, dark story. That's my concern. So I would love to see Game On as a show, but I also know that in order to create ratings, sometimes they're like, can Steve have a heroin addiction? And like that's just it's like I love the idea. I love it. What about a meth lab? You know, you're like, nah, I don't have a meth lab. But can you? Can you have a meth lab? And then it'd be fun. It'd be interesting. You do improv and have a meth lab. I'm like, I don't
Is
have
he
a
a
meth lab.
serial killer at night?
Right. But that's it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
How'd the show go? I pitched it, but then I didn't get first right of refusal. So now I'm a fugitive and I teach improv. It's my laugh. Look at my laugh sign just fell. It was so cute. But I love that you asked that. No, I'm really answering like on the fly right now. This is really good. Like, I mean, it'd be fun. It'd be fun. But then, yeah, I wouldn't want them to be like, Steve, love your idea. You're not playing yourself. But I'm trying to think of like the most gorgeous guy. Like, who's like that? Like, who's the Chris Helmsworth? Steve, we're going to have you be played. Chris Helmsworth is not me. I know, but it's just thank you for all your service. But Chris is going to take it from here. And I'm like on the side, like Chris Helmsworth's like, how you doing, man? Nice to meet you. I'm like, how did you get my part? Why are you talking to my wife?
He's like, I agree to be a meth head.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm a good-looking, blue-eyed meth head. I'm like, oh, that's how you got it. Well, and the show's called like Game Off. It's not even called Game On. So you joke, but like there's producers out there listening going, not a bad idea. Speechwriter by day, improvisationalist by day, like high energy fun. Meth head by night.
Oh my God. This sort of answered the second part of my question. I was going to ask you, does Game On give you similar satisfaction?
It does. Yeah, it does. I get the best of both worlds. I get a chance to engage with people and interact. So there's that, but I also get that a little bit of stability. I mean, it's still hard to be an entrepreneur, but we're past sort of the startup phase.
Yeah. And you have like so much more control over your life and your destiny, and you're not sitting on the 405.
Oh, goodness. Oh my, you just triggered me. Folks, those of you listening who don't know the 405.
You don't want to know it.
You don't want to know the 405. Oh my gosh, it's so funny you said that. But
Spent a
yeah,
lot of time in LA last year. I shouldn't say a lot of time, but I was out in LA a couple times last year, and just going anywhere,
I know.
anywhere.
I know.
It used to be you could, dart down Third Street by La Brea.
Sepulveda or
Yeah, like
yeah,
any kind of thing,
Olympic
like a
Boulevard.
background or back streets or whatever.
Yeah.
None of that exists anymore.
No, because they know about
None
the
of
back streets. So everyone's like, I
Yeah.
have a shortcut. Like that's no longer a shortcut.
Yeah,
So everyone's on Olympic. Like,
yeah. Oh,
oh goodness.
ridiculous. So, speaking of triggers,
405.
What has been the biggest lesson you learned as an actor that influences your work today?
I think the things that you could do as an actor that you could do as a business person is take care of yourself. I mean it. I know it sounds so unexciting. We just did that riff on like Chris Helmsworth taking my part, but like I'm being grounded now. Like I worked as an actor and I probably would have stayed working if I took it like a serious profession. Like remember to write thank you notes and remember people's names and be coherent and present in interactions, and that is the same in a business. It's like, okay, let me just phrase it this way, Trinette. In the sports world, people take care of their bodies in order to succeed as an athlete. That's a given, right? That wouldn't be a shocking statement. I think that those things can also be played out as actors and as entrepreneurs. It's important. And this is hard because it's not exciting. Like when I worked, it was when I actually like prepared and looked at the lines and got sleep the night before and got to the audition a little early and remembered the director's name and was coherent in the audition.
Yeah.
Like those, it's clarity of mind, and same in business. Like it's I'll just be very blunt. It's hard to run a business and lead people if you are sleep deprived.
Yeah.
If you are hungover, if you are making poor decisions on the daily. Like, I don't mean to be a fun sponge, but those are the things that I think combine both industries. Is you do have to treat your process like an elite athlete. You have to take care of your body, stretch out, make sure your voice is in good shape, and make sure your mind is clear.
Yep, because all we have is our health, mental
Come
and
on.
otherwise.
Yeah.
You
And
gotta
then
look after that stuff.
It's true, Trinette. And then the danger of you going south with that is you will, in Hollywood, you will get a little bit of negative behavior positively reinforced, but it won't last long. But, I mentioned in a previous conversation you and I had, there is a little bit of in Hollywood, especially from my style, my categories are different. You were more in as an actress and modeling, and I was more of a character actor. But, you could act erratic and people will be like, oh, you're interesting. They'll cast you. But eventually, you're risking your mental health for success.
Yeah. And for them to write you off the show anyway. So like
100%. Yeah, they're like, yeah, you're interesting. By the way, you're dying in the next scene.
And then not take your call ever again.
Remember me? Hello? Chris Hemsworth. Chris.
It's so true, though.
Oh my goodness.
So my goodness. What lessons have your daughters taught you that influence your work?
Oh,
First of all, tell me about your daughters. Tell us about
now you got me.
Because they are beautiful little girls.
Thank you, Trinette. Well, I got to give my wife credit. I got a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, Blake and Bailey. I kind of like one of the things about being a father is, and let's be real, I'm an older father. I'm 53. I was 40 when I got married. One of it is back to the theme we talked about is I want to take care of myself. Like girls, well, first of all, they're really direct and straight. They are a little sassy. It's all right. I want to lean into that boldness because I want them to be bold, strong women, but they be careful what you ask for. But they have checked me, especially the young one, Bailey. She'll be like, Dad, you're older than all the other dads. Like, how old are you going to be when I get married? How old are you going to be when, like, are you going to be able to walk me down the aisle? Like, and no, it's kind of harsh. But what it does do is makes me really think, like, that's serious. Like, I may be in my 60s when my girls are in their 20s, and I'm going to be in my 60s.
Yeah.
And so, making better decisions, trying to take care of myself a little bit, going back to that idea that when you're solo, you can drive a little erratically, metaphorically, but when you got kids and wife in the car, metaphorically, you're going to drive a little safer. So that's one. And they are also really, really funny. They're really funny.
Well, I can't imagine them not being funny with you as a father.
Thank you. But they're funny. The young one's funnier than me. Don't tell her that.
I won't tell her. Tell me, Steve, what are you reading right now?
You know, one of the books, it's not a new book, not a voracious. It's funny. Whenever people are like, what books do you read? I always try to use a big word. Not a voracious. I do. It's like, that's my way of defending myself. Like, when someone doesn't read a lot, they're like,
reading.
Totally. It's funny you asked, Trinette, as an erudite myself. I literally just said I'm not a voracious reader. Like, dude, come on, man. You don't use that word unless you feel defensive. I am reading this book by two brothers. It's the Heath brothers. Dan Heath is one of the names. It's called The Power of Moments, actually. It's not a book that's current. I think they wrote it like 6 years ago. It's a really cool book. In essence, it talks about how we as human beings will love a moment, but the entire experience may actually be quite ridiculously like challenging. Example being like going to Disney. It's the lines are exhausting. It's hot, but there'll be a moment, that magical moment that Disney creates, and human beings will be like, greatest experience ever.
Where everything else melts away.
Exactly. Actually, there's one also where there's like a hotel where we all used to hang out. I think it's the Four Seasons. It might in LA, where they have one of those hotels. They have like a phone you could pick up, and they deliver popsicles. It's like the popsicle phone, and they study that, and they talk about that awe, that awe and delight of like the surprise and delight of like that, those types of things, like those magical moments that end up allowing people to be like greatest experience ever when it really wasn't, but there was a moment in that experience that resonated with you. So I'm really intrigued by it because I think it's true. I think we go back after a trip or something, we'll be like, that was, and then I'm always fascinated, what was it? And how can we create those moments with our families, with our relationships, and in our teaching in Game On, those moments that are not actually like wildly radical, just slightly different.
Well, it goes back to what you're saying before about empathy and compassion. Somebody calls downstairs for a popsicle, they bring it up, and you could be, it doesn't matter if you're in the Four Seasons or the Ritz or whatever, but if you're having a bad day, or if you're in your own moment, and you're like, I need a popsicle. And there you go. That changes the whole day.
Yeah. And it goes to something that you and I talked a little bit about before we went on the air, which is, I think sometimes as human beings, if we want to go there, like we complicate how to honor people, like just think, listen, companies, yes, it's good in companies to like give raises and salary bonuses and job promotion. No question. Like you need to honor people. There's also things like remembering their birthday or not maybe having a lunch and learn, like maybe let them eat lunch.
Right.
I'm just being real. Like I just now upset like half of corporate America, but like think about it. Popsicle.
Yeah, just let them eat.
Let them. I love that. Like, dude, we're going to do a lunch and learn just to improve productivity. No, you're not. You're just trying to maximize another hour.
You're like, oh, so you're not giving them lunch or private time during the day.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
And I got caught up in it. We were doing these lunch and learns, and I stopped. I was like, what? Here's an idea. Let them eat lunch. Give them that 52 minutes. And they can do whatever they want. Right? So back to, as human, I think sometimes we think of grand things to like honor people. And the problem is then we remove ourselves from doing anything because grand is hard. Like surprise birthday parties and wild celebrations and getting on a plane and flying across the country to see an old friend. Those are all very special. But what about like popsicle? Like what about remembering someone's birthday? What about like texting them and say, hey, I was just thinking about you and you came up on a memory on social media and I hope you're well. Like that goes a long way and it's free. So
Yep.
moments
I've got a
are way
very
better.
good friend in California, in the Bay, where I used to live, and every so often she will just send me flowers,
Gosh,
you know, and it's everything. It's everything.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's even that, and like, it's not like a special occasion, which even makes it more special.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just
Yeah.
thinking of you, T. Hope you're well.
Gosh, that's radical.
Yeah.
And doable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to that question you asked, Trinette, about, what makes your company different, what makes you different. I think for anyone listening at my age, I'd really encourage people, don't turn this into some superpower. I'm not knocking that run, but superpowers, like, if you think about that, like, I don't fly. I'm not a superman, And I think when we think of superpower, it removes us from actually doing anything that's simple. But like, can you send flowers to someone? Yeah. Can you remember someone's birthday? Yeah. Can you remember someone's name? Yeah. Can you give someone a time to eat lunch? Yeah. These are really actionable moves.
Right.
They're not like, it's not a viral tweet.
Right.
It's not going to go viral. Like, what did that speaker just say? He said, try to remember someone's name. Wow, this guy's amazing. What a great presenter. He's spitting fire. He's hitting me with so many good nuggets. Like, try to get 8 hours of sleep. Try to say the name properly. Try to let people eat lunch. Like, right? It's just not interesting at all. It's not going to make a TV show.
Well, not if Chris Helmholtz did it.
I knew it. I knew he was coming back. I knew he was coming back. This is not about Chris, Trinette. Helmsworth. If it weren't for you, I'd still be a former character actor. My girls and Jackie, my wife, call him Blue Eyes. He does this show he's too much. He's too much.
Let's get him on this podcast. Let's grill him.
Poke out his flaws. What's wrong with you? No, seriously. Take out those contacts. You have brown eyes. I knew it. Knew it. He's too much.
Oh, goodness. My last question for you, Steve, is what piece of music moves you?
Oh, wow. I have a really eclectic taste in music. Mm-hmm. Really eclectic. I will tell you, and this is not what Shemmy back in the LA days listened to, Trinette. I'm really into gospel music.
Really?
I'm really into worship music. Yeah, I am. Which is another part of just the growth. Like, I do love all sorts of wild, but again, when you have children, you're not asking Alexa to throw up Eminem, on the soundtrack. But yeah, I'm really into worship music. Lauren Daigle is really wonderful. Maverick City Music, I really love. Mm-hmm. Hillsong United, Bethel. So yeah, that's been my jam. And that's what I listen to before I present on stage. Because the last thing I need is to listen to Turn Down for What before I come on stage. Because that's like sugar on sugar. Right?
I get it.
Yeah. What about you? What's on the playlist?
Oh boy. Depends on my mood.
Yeah.
If I need a bit of hype or to feel powerful, or let's say before an important professional conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe some Florence and the Machine.
Come on.
I just love her voice. It is just so powerful and raw. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it's so empowering, Yeah. So that's definitely one. Aretha Franklin, all time, any day.
Love her, and I love that movie, Respect. Loved it.
Did you see the documentary Amazing Grace?
Yes, Jackie and I watched it. Yeah. That's
incredible.
Kind of been a big, that we just in the last year. Amazing. But you bring up something, I know it's your last question, but you bring up something I think so important, which is, this is another tangible thing people can do. What music are people listening to before they go into that job interview or go on that date or go and when you talk about like, taking ownership of your, journey and walking through that door, like I think people should think about like what's the soundtrack that they're listening to before they go in? What's that outfit that they love to wear that makes them feel confident? Who are they calling? Who's their phone a friend? Is it your friend who's sending flowers, or is it someone who maybe doesn't speak life into you? And be aware of that. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you listening to? Because those things matter deeply as we take care of our health and go after our calling.
I could not agree more. I can't think of a better note to end this conversation on, Steve.
Thanks,
Thank
Trinette.
you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to come onto my podcast. I really, really appreciate it.
You had my back 24 years ago when I was Shemmy and I wasn't listening to worship music. I was listening to all sorts of nonsense. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You were such a blessing then. And here we are 25 years later. Thank you. Thank you, T.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this latest episode of My Time, My Life. And until next time, take care. Bye. My Time, My Life with Trinette Faint is a Floor 51 production.